How y'all doing today? So, finally making another video. Life is weird, so I'm out here now. Got my Fruit Loops. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. Couldn't go back to sleep, so I just got up and took a shower. Thought I was gonna go back to sleep then. I'm like, no, you're gonna film a video. One thing I realized to stop me from filming videos, I know I'm behind on this stuff, is that I want to get dolled up and do the right thing and have the right plan for my videos, but that's just not me. I know what I want to talk about, so I'm just going to get on here and talk about it, okay? I'm a little sleep deprived right now, fresh out of the shower. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm not wearing a bra. I'm eating Fruit Loops. I'm by a canal. And we're going to talk about credit today. So I have notes. I'm a professional. But credit. So what is it? Why is it unfair? So credit is basically something that you build up over time that tells people who are going to loan you something, whether it's money for a car, money for a house, or a credit card, like just short-term credit like that. It determines whether you're eligible and how much you're eligible for based on your previous track record. There's a small problem with that, especially for us young people or just people in general. If you've never had a credit card, you've never built up any kind of credit for yourself, and that when you go to get credit for the first time, you need credit to get credit, but you don't have credit, so it's hard to get credit, and it's like a really mean cycle to break out of. You need to be building up your credit from a young age. Like, I mean, if you're not at a young age, like, you basically need to start now. And it's really, really, really important to not take on more than what you can handle, because if you can't make your payments on time, that's gonna be literally the only credit that you have, and it's gonna be bad credit. So it's unfair in the sense that from a starting point, you're starting at zero. You're not starting at like an average starting point. So you already have to come back as if you have bad credit to begin with, even if you have no credit, because no credit is basically bad credit. Like, not exactly, like bad credit is worse than no credit. So you don't start at an average point, you start at zero. So if you're starting at zero and you go to apply for credit and you need credit to get credit, so I didn't get any credit until I was 18, which is still really young, but I went about it with a car loan that I was not expecting to have to get because I was paying cash for everything that I needed before this. I didn't even have a little credit card or anything. So because I had no credit and I went to go get something like a car loan instead of a credit card, I was stuck with a very high interest rate for my first car loan, which was 27%, which is absolutely insane. But so many people get percentage rates like that on car loans, which is just insane. That's insane. Insane. 27% interest on a car, which I work at a car dealership. When I no longer work at said car dealership, I'm going to make a video about everything that I've experienced at this car dealership. Both like fun personal story time and then also like educational car dealership insider knowledge story time. But I'm gonna have to wait till I don't work there anymore to make that video. But credit. So a lot of young people get stuck with these really high interest rates on car loans, but that could have been prevented if when I was, say, 16 years old, say I had like my name on like a parent's credit card, or I got my own credit card when I got my first job when I was 16, and I just put like a little bit of money on it a month and paid it off every month, then I would have had some credit and I wouldn't have been stuck with a crazy interest rate, right? But I didn't know. And the reason I was scared of credit was because I grew up in a family that didn't manage their money very well. And I knew one of the issues, especially like with my grandmother who I grew up with was that she had a lot of credit card debt that was not well managed at all. So that caused her like a lot of issues later on in her life. And I knew that I became like very scared to have credit cards because I knew how bad they could get if they went unmanaged. Like if you maxed out your credit cards and you couldn't keep up with your bills, like that interest can be very, very scary if you start collecting it. So that's the important thing with credit cards. You have to be able to pay it off. I think the most important thing that I could teach anybody about a credit card is you should use your credit card like a debit card. If you don't have money, cash, in your bank account right now to pay that credit card off when you go to charge it, you probably shouldn't be charging it. I mean, there are some exceptions to that, but you shouldn't ever have to max out your credit card. You shouldn't be putting hundreds and hundreds of dollars on it right away. And if you think that you would be doing those things right after getting a credit card, then I don't think you're ready for a credit card, because you'd be using it for the wrong reasons, and at the end of the day that's going to hurt your credit and cost you more money in the long run. So you need to go about obtaining that money a different way. A credit card is not like fast cash, a quick loan, or anything like that. It's just something for you to use in your everyday life. So like one thing that I have 2 little credit cards. One through my bank account that I normally use every day, like my regular debit card bank account, Capital One. And then, Honeybee wants my Fruit Loops. And then the other one I have is with a federal credit union, which is where I got my most recent car loan, the car loan that I'm paying right now, at 9.25% interest, not 27% interest. So, and the reason I was able to get the 9.25% was for a few reasons. I had been paying on the other car loan for a few months. At that time that I was getting this other car loan, I had not gotten a credit card yet. So literally the only thing on my credit was the other car loan. And I mean, I made my payments on time, but I'd only been paying it for less than a year before it was totaled and I needed to get another car. I went to a credit union instead of just going through the car dealership to get financing. I would say like 99 times out of 100, if you are in a position to do that, that's probably going to be your better bet for a better percentage rate. So I have 2 credit cards, one with the credit union that I have the car loan app, and one with my regular banking account. And I would say it is rare that I have over $100 used up on either one of them. And they're both small limits. One of them, I believe, I think they're both like $500 limits. I think it might be like one's $500 and one's $750, I think. They're very small limits. One of them was a secured credit card, which at Capital One I got a secured credit card, which is my first credit card, although I got these both kind of close together. The secured credit card, basically you pay them a deposit. I think it was $100 or $200, and basically it's for people who don't have credit yet, so they don't know if you're gonna pay your bill or not, so they take a deposit. So that's a secured credit card. But other than that, it works like a regular credit card. The Louisiana Federal Credit Union did not require a deposit for me to get their credit card. It's just a lower limit. But like I said, it is very rare that I put over $100 a month on either one of them. I check my credit score. I do like the free credit reports, not the hard credit pulls. So it may not be 110% accurate, but it does give you a pretty good idea of where you're at. So I check my free credit scores really regularly. Both TurboTax, if you do your taxes through TurboTax, offers a free credit score check, and Capital One, which is my bank, offers a free credit score check. I don't know, I'm sure there are other banks, other mainstream banks that offer it as well. So I check it pretty regularly, and one thing I was noticing was that I was paying off all of my bills every month, obviously except for the loan. I was just paying on the car loan every month, but I was paying the credit cards off every month, and it would be one month, oh, your score went up 2 points because your available credit went up because I paid off some of the debt, and your credit utilization went down because they're basically 2 ends of the same sword, but they both affect credit separately, if that makes sense. So credit utilization is how much of my available credit am I using, which you want to keep under 30%, which mine's like usually under 10%. And then also how much credit of your available credit is available to you. So if your available credit's gone up, that's a plus for your credit, and if your credit utilization's gone down, that's a plus for your credit. But if I'm paying it off every month, I'll have 1 month where those things go down, and then the next month where they go up again because I'm charging the card again. So it's not like it's that big of a deal. These are very small fluctuations, but just as far as like where I'm at right now, which is just trying to build my score up, I'm trying to get to 700. I'm at like 650, 660 right now. I don't want to be taking those little hits. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to charge probably $100 on each card, and then pay off more than what I put on it each month, if I can keep that straight. You don't have to be that specific about what you're doing. The most important thing when you have open lines of credit, which is your car loan, your credit cards, is just paying your bills on time. That's 110% the most important thing that you can do. It's really simple. Pay your bills on time. Don't be late on your bills. If you're in a bind with money, and some bills have to go by the wayside, the last bills that you need to like not pay, besides your absolute essentials, which would be like your utility, car insurance. Car insurance doesn't usually report to the credit bureau. You need to remain insured, but I'm just saying those hits to your credit, especially when you don't have a lot of credit history, are going to tank your credit score. When you're young, it's going to take several years to build up that credit on multiple accounts. So like I have 4 accounts on my credit score. One of them's closed. It's my original car loan that was paid off, and then there's my open car loan. There's 2 credit cards. So that's not a lot. It's pretty simple for me to manage at this point, but you need to be honest with yourself about what you trust yourself to manage responsibly. So how to use your credit card. One way to use your credit card is, if you drive, have that credit card set aside and you'll be tracking how much you spend on gas every month. Or you could do the same with like food. If you eat out a lot, even if it's not expensive food, but like if you go to fast food a lot or whatever and you're not very good about keeping track about how much you're spending on it, use a credit card for that. So you can see at the end of every month, oh, I use this credit card just for like going out to eat or whatever, and I spent this much this month on it. So like that's a kind of a simple way to keep track of your expenses without actually managing a full spreadsheet of every little transaction you do on a monthly basis. You don't have to do that. It's just a suggestion for how to utilize your credit cards for other money managing reasons. Another good thing to do is if you have smaller bills, like if you're in an apartment, like maybe your electricity bill isn't that much every month, or water bill or what have you, or internet bill, whatever it is, Netflix. For your smaller bills, nothing really large, nothing that takes up a large portion of your income, but for your smaller monthly bills like that, set them up on automatic payments. For one, that's good. You don't have to worry about thinking about to pay that on time. You don't have to worry about it going out because you forgot to pay it. And 2, that's a good steady way to have the same charges going through your credit card every month. So like I have internet now, so like I pay for internet. It's gonna be like $61 a month for the internet that I got. So I set that as an automatic payment through my Capital One credit card. So that's gonna automatically come out of my Capital One credit card. I don't have to think about it because I know my credit utilization is so low on that card that I don't have to worry about like maxing it out or there not being enough available on it. And then I just pay off that $61 every month when it goes to pay my credit card bill. So that's another way to use it. I know long term you want to look at credit cards with benefits, credit cards with points, whether you travel. At this point in time, I'm not really utilizing credit cards for that. Look at benefits on credit cards too, but that might not come into play right away for your first credit card. You might be able to get it for yourself. I know that I think I applied to like 1 or 2 credit cards with benefits, but if you don't have a credit score yet, you're not going to get approved for nicer credit cards. So don't get a crappy credit card either, like one that just like has a lot of like fine print on it, a lot of fees, and try to get the lowest interest rate you can, although for your first credit cards you're going to have a high interest rate. Hopefully interest rates won't come into play for you because you'll be paying your bills on time and paying them off on time, so you're not going to be accruing interest. Also, if you just utilize your credit for smaller bills like that and you're not putting big hunks of money on your credit cards, you're not going to have to worry too much about if you start accruing interest, oh wait, no, I can still pay that off, because even though I collected interest, I only collected interest on $61. So even if it's an insane amount of money, like 25% or something, that's still only going to be $15 in addition to $61. Now, do I want to pay that extra $15? No, but I can. Don't put yourself in a position where if it does accrue interest unexpectedly or something, you can't still pay it off. Dave Ramsey, who's a very famous financial educator, and I believe in a lot of what he says as far as educating people on finances. And I actually took a class like in middle school that was basically just showing us videotapes of Dave Ramsey's lectures, but they were very educational for me, and it helped me start forming healthy money habits at a young age. However, one of the things that I learned from those videos was that Dave Ramsey was like, oh, well, if you just pay cash for everything in your life, then you don't really need credit. Well, you're not wrong. However, that's not necessarily realistic for most people. I would say avoid debt like the plague. I don't want to say some debt is unavoidable, but life happens. And sometimes not all debt is horrible debt. Paying on a car is not the end of the world. If you can't afford to pay cash, please pay cash. Like that is better, so you don't have monthly bills, because you want, the mindset behind it is that you want more of your money to stay your money. You don't want all of your money to be going towards bills every month. So I understand that perspective. However, it's not the worst thing in the world to build your credit up, and it's not necessarily realistic to buy everything in cash for your entire life. I'm all about working hard and making your money, but when I need a car, I need a car, and I had like $3,000 to my name at the time, and I think I had more than that. I think I was probably actually closer to $7,000 or $8,000, and I could have gotten myself a car that ran for $7,000 or $8,000, but then I wouldn't have had any money in the bank, right? And also, the reason I originally said that I had 2 to 3 and not 7 to 8 is because I believe that other $4,000 was in a separate account that I had set aside for school. And I've talked about, saving for school and stuff before, and I was very strict with myself about that money was for school and I couldn't use it for an emergency. That was my choice. I could just pay the car off now, but then I would just be accepting more debt in the future because I would need to take out loans for school. So I was more confident in the car loan, especially at the 9.25% interest, because I knew that I was going to be able to pay that off in a reasonable amount of time, rather than the student loans, which is very easy to just like push off for a long amount of time, and then all of a sudden, you have this debt for this education that you might not even be utilizing at this point in time, but you still have to pay off this debt from years ago. You know what I mean? At least I'm actively driving the car that I'm paying off. It is 6:56. I was really close, and the sun is coming up right over there. It's a little too bright for me right now. So not everything gets reported on your credit card, on your credit report. Your car insurance, I don't think is going to get reported on your credit report. Netflix, Spotify, that's not going to get reported to your credit report. If you have rent, if you pay rent every month, depending on your situation, like if you pay rent to a landlord every month, not all landlords will necessarily report to a credit bureau. Mine does. So just keep that in mind when you go to rent a place. You can always ask them about it. Do you report to a credit bureau? Not really good or bad either way, but if they are reporting to a credit bureau, as long as you pay your rent on time, that's building your credit, so that's not a bad thing. So a lot of those bills that I had been paying for years, even though I was a good customer, even though I was paying those bills on time, they weren't reported to the credit bureau, so it didn't do anything for me. Basically, that concept of credit is that it's like tiny loans or an actual loan, and it's people lending you money and then you paying them back. So if it's not a situation where someone is lending you money and you're paying them back, like a loan or a credit card, it's not going to get reported to the credit bureau. 9 times out of 10. Almost done. Okay. So last thing, I touched on this before, I'm going to touch on it again. High impact and low impact. This is just going to give me a little mustache. High impact and low impact. High impact are things like paying your bills on time. That is going to have a high impact on your credit score, both good and bad. So you need to pay your bills on time. Incredibly important. Lower impact things are going to be how many times have people pulled your credit. So a hard credit pull, like when you go to apply for a loan from a bank or a credit union or a credit card, when you go to apply for renting a place, anytime someone does a hard pull of your credit to see your entire credit history, that's recorded. And if you have a whole lot of them in a short amount of time, that's kind of sus. So you don't want that. So I kind of have a high credit inquiry number on my credit score right now because I had to get 2 cars in 1 year, and that's a lot of credit inquiries for different banks. And I also got 2 credit cards in the same year. So like I've done a lot with my credit in 1 year, and that involved a lot of credit inquiries. So eventually those fall off your records, but ideally you want to spread them out a little bit so it's not a whole bunch of them at one particular time. But it's more of a low impact to your score. Like I said, that's not nearly as important as paying your bills on time. And that touches on all my fancy notes there. I'm gonna head out. I'm glad I finally got around to filming this video. I'm sorry I haven't been getting videos out on time, just life is kind of happening. But I have been filming, I just haven't been editing and getting things up, and the stuff I've been filming specifically isn't really ready to go public yet, but it will. So stay tuned for that. If you wanna get the hot tea, the hot goss, I'm just sort of trying to be real and authentic with y'all, and I hope y'all see that, and I hope you see a little bit of my personality, and if you jive with it, I jive with you. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. But this sun is kind of being a hater right now. I don't know. Am I glowing, or do you just see my acne scars? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments, and let me know if you found any of this information useful. If you have any feedback for me, let me know. I appreciate anybody who watched all the way to the end, even if you didn't, even if you skipped around. It's great. I appreciate you, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.